Now thankfully, not all retailer exclusives were as dire as these, but they're just as dumb. Ratatouille on the original Xbox, exclusive to GameStop. The gamers won. Listen, this one sounds weird initially, but then you get a reality check, alright? So, this game released in June of 2007. The Xbox 360 launched in 2005. The original Xbox was discontinued in 2005 and always targeted a more mature and hardcore audience. This game was coming to every goddamn platform ever made already, but nobody was buying original Xbox games anymore, and nobody is also not interested in movie tie-in kids games. So, this version of the game probably had the least going for it at the time. Now, canceling it wouldn't have been a huge deal. The number of kids who only had this console in 2007 dying to live a day in Ratatouille's shoes, I mean, they must be out there. So just releasing it at GameStop? Sure. I feel like GameStop is the store you make super niche core experiences exclusive to, whereas Ratatouille would fit better at like a TJ Maxx. But could you really sleep at night if the Xbox port of a game with 10 other versions didn't release? Well, it could, but keep in mind, I'm deranged. So thank you, GameStop, for making sure I could buy Ratatouille for Xbox. Well, it could, but keep in mind, I'm deranged. And GameStop really pulled through for us with this one. Wait, is that another game in need? GameStop, oh god, do your magic! Xenoblade Chronicles. This game had one hell of a road to launch here in North America. Originally, it was supposed to, with no caveats. It got a trailer at E3 2009 titled Monado, Beginning of the World. Then, exactly, not a damn peep. It launched in Japan in June of 2010, eventually released in Europe, fully translated to English a year later, all while Nintendo of America was busy elsewhere. Listen man, 2011 to 2012 was a rough era for the Wii. Sure, Skyward Sword and Kirby's Return to Dreamland released. That's great, sweetie. Please get this thing off my porch. Very light release schedule. It felt like a prime time for a critically acclaimed open world RPG to show its stuff. Okay, so nowadays, most games Nintendo publishes get a worldwide release, but back then, I was genuinely concerned we weren't gonna get Kirby's Epic Yarn. Yeah, Xenoblade isn't the most mainstream game out there, but for f***'s sake, that same year, they had no problem publishing Spirit Camera over here. Their resistance to put this game out in North America was so confusing. Fans came together to form Operation Rainfall, an initiative to urge Nintendo to release this alongside The Last Story and Pandora's Tower stateside. 3 games that were already in English. They were coming to Europe, their work was already done, they just had to print the discs. Nintendo of America's response? Don't you guys have passports? They said they had no plans to release any of the games at the time, though that would quickly change as in December of 2011, it was announced Xenoblade Chronicles would be hitting North America in April of 2012. Only at GameStop. You know what got a wide release here in the States? Yeah, thank God. If I bring this anywhere near a Target, I'll be shot. And later down the line, GameStop took wind to the fact that the game was going for higher prices on the secondhand market, thus took new stock they had, opened them up, and sold them used for $90 so they can make a far greater profit. Damn! And things were going so smoothly. Well, if you're gonna make a game exclusive anywhere, GameStop makes the most sense. Regardless of any funny business they pull, they're the video game store, which is probably why they felt they had what it takes to release their own games. Introducing GameTrust Games, GameStop's publishing brand. Now, GameStop won't have to wait around for a Nintendo to throw them a bone with a game they don't want to take a risk on. They can lure in customers themselves with their own store exclusives. Must-have titles you can't buy anywhere else. This is the GameTrust lineup. I'll take the spider. Yeah, none of these really spoke to me, though to be fair, there are some big names behind these titles. GameTrust's first game, Song of the Deep, was developed by Insomniac. Then Tequila Works did The Invisible Hours, Ready at Dawn did Deformers, Frozen Byte did Has Been Heroes. These were well-known, beloved developers responsible for GameStop-published fuck-ups. Yeah, none of these were particularly great. They're all pretty nothing games, and in the case of Deformers, I mean that literally. The only reason anybody cared about Has Been Heroes was because it was one of the very few physical Nintendo Switch games available in its launch month. The only reason anybody cared about Song of the Deep was because it was developed by Insomniac, and the only reason anybody cared about The Invisible Hours was because they felt bad nobody else did. Doesn't really seem like these made GameStop a force to be reckoned with in the publishing sphere, as this was basically all they did. Just makes sense to stick to what you know. Nothing. Just take exclusives when they offer themselves to you, like Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 on PS4 and Xbox One. That was GameStop exclusive. For some reason. This launched when the new game Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was announced, so maybe they limited this to focus on that title instead? Why even release this in the first place? Around the same time, Secret of Mana on PlayStation 4 was made available only at GameStop. Thank God, I'm safe here. What a dumbass this was. So they remade a few classic Final Fantasy games in 3D on the Nintendo DS, and this felt like they were trying to do that with Secret of Mana, not on the Nintendo DS 10 years later. This would have been far more accepted back then, but on the PS4, this just looks and feels so damn cheap. And that's not to say it's a bad remake, rather, it's just kinda there. You know what that means, right? Oh! It's a bad remake.